If you want your current reality to change, you have to stop fighting against it. Acceptance is the answer to changing your reality and finally stepping into the version of you that has what you want. Hi, my name is Veronica, and my goal is to help you go from feeling like the victim of your reality to the creator of it. I help you rewrite the stories that have kept you stuck in old patterns and help you release shame, regulate your nervous system, and step into the identity of the person who has what you want. Awareness is the first step to change, but acceptance is the second step, and I feel like it's less talked about. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I talked about this topic in an email I wrote to my email list a couple weeks ago, and this morning I was like, you know what? I think this needs to be a YouTube video. This needs to be a video, and it also pairs really well with the video I posted last week about how our subconscious is always trying to get a desire or a need met. Once we uncover that desire or that need, the best thing we can do is accept it. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about why acceptance is so important and how you can start to accept your current reality, your current identity, in order to move past it. So resistance is easy, I think. It's easy when we aren't happy with either who we are or a certain aspect of our life. It's easy to resist and fight against it. It's easy to complain. We ruminate about how much we dislike our current situation. We can beat ourselves up for where we are and the choices we made that got us here. We can question how we got here. We can blame other people, maybe like the ones who raised us and influenced our subconscious beliefs. Please tell me I'm not the only one who's, done that. But personally, when I find that I'm questioning why I haven't made a quantum leap or made a change in one area of my life, the answer is usually that I'm still resisting and fighting against it and that I haven't completely accepted it for what it is. And I realized once, and I think this is probably true for a lot of us, that we fear that completely accepting where we are, who we are, is going to cause us to be complacent and therefore stay stuck in our current identity. But that is not the truth. At least I don't think so for most of us, because most likely if you're here and you're watching this, you have a desire to change your reality. You're willing to do the work. You want to do the work. You're trying to figure out, what do I do to change this reality? So let's talk first about how resistance keeps us stuck. Resistance can activate our nervous system, which will keep us stuck in fight, flight, freeze. When we are in that dysregulated nervous system states, we cannot create the life we want. We want to be in that rest and digest state. That is the state of creation. When we are in a fight, flight, freeze, a shutdown, collapse, maybe going back and forth between these states, we are in survival mode. So therefore, we cannot fully embody the identity of the person that we want to be and step into that reality. Resistance also keeps us in the thinking and feeling loops of our current identity. So when we are resisting, we're having those same feelings that we've been having, which is triggering our mind to think the same thoughts. Those thoughts are then influencing our feelings. The cycle continues. And resistance is preventing us from embodying the version of us who has what we desire. So because we are stuck in those thinking and feeling loops, we aren't moving into new thinking and feeling loops that are aligned with the version of us who's living in that desired reality. And most likely because we're in those old thinking and feeling loops and we're not embodying that new version of us, we're probably still taking action aligned with the current version of us. And resistance also lets us know that we aren't trusting. We aren't trusting the universe to provide us what we desire. Resistance lets us know that we're not trusting ourselves to figure it out. And that lack of trust really, again, goes back to, preventing us from embodying the version of us who has what we want, stepping into that new identity of the one who has what we want. On the flip side of things, acceptance provides us with a state of peace. It allows us to move into the ventral vagal nervous system state, which is the state of safety. And that is the state in which we can create, in which we can take aligned action with the version of us we want to embody. Being in a state of acceptance helps us to clearly assess what is happening in our reality. So going back to how I said, I think a lot of us fear that when we fully accept where we are, we will become complacent. But the truth is, when we are resisting, often we aren't thinking clearly. We may be making decisions from a place of fighting against what's happening in our reality versus making a decision from a place of embodying that version of us who already has what we want. So acceptance helps us to clearly evaluate what is happening in our reality and make a plan to take aligned action. And acceptance also allows us to tap into the energy of our desired self, the version of us who has what we want. It allows us to really tap into those feelings and those thinking and feeling loops, which we know we need to do in order to make a quantum leap or change our reality. We have to embody that version of us, shift our state of being to being the one who has what we want, and we do that through, a part of that is our thinking and feeling loops. So how do we move from resistance to acceptance? We have to allow ourselves to go through the grief process, or sometimes this is called the healing process, but the stages of grief. So in other words, we need to allow ourselves to fully feel all of the emotions that are coming up so that we can process them and release them. I feel like almost every single video I make, somehow I end up talking about processing emotions again and fully feeling them. So it's a very important piece of making a quantum leap and creating our reality. Something I want to mention here is that if you are rumination lets us know, it's a sign that our body, our nervous system doesn't feel safe fully feeling our emotions. So we may be intellectualizing the grief, the anger, the resentment, the rage, the sadness, whatever else we're feeling, but we're not actually feeling it. We're not actually embodying that emotion, feeling it and processing it. So if we want to move through the stages of grief and feel all of our emotions in order to move into acceptance, we need to create that sense of safety within our body to actually feel our emotions, to get out of our mind and into our body. So before I go into creating safety, real quick, I just want to recap the stages of grief. In the grief process, we usually start with denial. So we are resisting and fighting against what is happening in our life. Once we move past denial, we move into anger. We are upset about what is going on. After anger, we move into bargaining. So we're usually trying to make a deal or figure out, like, how can we avoid this loss, or how can we avoid this situation? And after bargaining comes depression. So feeling sadness, feeling grief, being really, truly upset. And then after depression, we can finally move into acceptance. And with this process, it is not linear. So you may find that you move from denial to bargaining, back to denial, to anger, to grief, back to anger. The process will look different for everyone. It's not, unfortunately, straightforward and linear, but those are the stages of grief. So, how do we create safety for ourselves to actually feel these feelings? One thing we can do to create safety is a practice called resourcing. What things or people provide you with a sense of safety and support? This could look like taking time to just ground into your environment and create that safety where you are. So for me, what I will do is, whether I'm inside or sometimes I like to do this outside on my porch, I will take the time to look around and just notice what I see. And then I will close my eyes and I'll pay attention to all the sensations I feel. And then I will pay attention to what I hear. So you're using your senses. And once you create that safety in your body, then I will journal. Then I will bring up the topic that I want to process, bring up those feelings. Then I will, put on a meditation and allow myself to work through and process the feelings. So I've created that sense of safety in my environment for myself first before I bring those feelings up. This could also look like, having another person. The resource may be a friend who's really supportive and can hold space. It may be, a professional, a therapist, but some kind of resource that allows you to feel safety. Another practice you can use, and this one I don't know who originally created it, but I know that I have heard about it through several somatic practitioners at this point. So if anyone knows who created this, who originated it, let me know in the comments so I can give them credit. But it's called the I believe you practice, where when that feeling comes up, when you start to feel it in your body, you can put maybe your hand over your chest if that feels good, and just say, I believe you. Because often when these emotions come up, when the anger comes up, when the grief comes up, we want to maybe repress it. We want to try to move past it really quickly, or maybe we're quick to try to transmute it into another feeling, and we don't actually give ourselves time to sit with it and feel it. And saying to ourselves, I believe you, is creating that safety within our body of, I believe you. I believe you that this is how you feel. I believe you, that you're sad, that you're angry. And again, that creates that safety for us to actually feel the emotion and be with it before we let it go. Because I think, I'll speak from personal experience. For me, I have tended to intellectualize a lot of my emotions in the past. And then I think once I learned about kind of how to process and work through emotions, I was quick to try to process them and release them and move past them. But I was doing myself a disservice by not actually fully feeling it. I wanted to transmute it really quickly instead of actually sitting with it and fully feeling it. So, in order to move from resistance to acceptance, we have to feel all of the emotions that are coming up. The anger, the sadness, the grief, the pain, the resentment. Allow yourself to work through this grief process and create that sense of safety for yourself in order to truly feel your emotions. Because once you reach that place of acceptance, fully accepting your current reality, your current identity, fully accepting, your circumstances, your bank account, your job, your relationships, whatever it is that you want to change. Once you accept it and you are in that state of peace, you can make a plan to change it. You can get clear on what taking aligned action looks like for you. You can finally embody the version of you that is living in the reality that you want. You can stop fighting against it. You can stop wasting your energy fighting against your reality and instead put that energy towards creating the life that you desire. I hope this video was helpful when it comes to acceptance. If you are curious about the link between your identity and creating your external reality, you can grab my free guide. I will link it below. It is a complete guide on the first step of making a quantum leap. So getting really clear on where you are now, what your current identity is, and what is your desired reality, and who is the version of you living in that reality. Getting clear on where you are and where you want to go will help you take aligned action, will help you get clear on the steps you need to take in order to make this process smoother and quicker for yourself. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, share it with someone you think it may help, and subscribe to my channel for more videos on how to rewrite your subconscious beliefs, release shame, tend to your nervous system, and finally step into the version of yourself who is the creator of your reality.